Hello, everyone. I believe we're live. We're doing this a little differently today because we can't use StreamYard because we have a lot of people that want to be here. Though, granted, watch it be enough that we could have done it on StreamYard anyway. That's okay. I don't mind experimenting. So that means no hype music, and I know that you guys all love your hype music. I'm going to just do a quick check before we really get started to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be, that we are streaming in the viewing party and not like on my Facebook page. That would be a disaster. I see myself there. Let's see if I can hear myself. Yep. All righty. Tonight, we are going to do something brand new. It's something we've always wanted to do, something that we just not have always been able to do, and that is a jury roundtable. We are going to be talking to as many of the jury as we possibly can. I think most of them will be here. There's 6 of them in the waiting room. I know Bradley and Jenny will not be here. I don't know about Alex or a couple of others, but there's 7 people in the waiting room, so that means only one of them is not here that said they would be here, and that's great. And wouldn't be surprised if it's Emma, but we'll see.
Who said that?
Yeah, she hasn't seen the message, so I wouldn't be surprised. We're just gonna bring them all in, let them flood the page, let them know that I would love to. Hopefully it'll mute them, but we'll see. We're gonna bring them all in. We're gonna talk about the final 3: Pietro, Drake, Jake, and Jason. We're gonna see what they think, and have a good discussion tonight. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Let's get them all in here right now. Admit all. Here they come. Oh, Jenny's here too. Oh, Alex is here. I wasn't sure if Alex was coming. Cowboy Marson. Everyone is here.
You love to see it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Matt, I don't know where Matt is, but I'm sure he'll get here eventually. Well, I'll wait to see Sarah's actual picture or her face before we get started. How is everyone tonight? Oh, Matt Dela Cruz is in the waiting room. Let's get him in here.
Bless you.
There is Matthew almost connecting. There's my sister with Jenny.
Josh, I got highlights today. Look.
That's great. It's great to know. The viewing party doesn't care. Just kidding. It looks nice. Yes, just so you guys all know, we are streaming live in the viewing party, so everyone can see you guys. Yes, Jenny, you can drink your wine. It's fine. It's just a viewing party, so that is fine. Tonight we're gonna.
It's fine.
Yeah. We're just gonna go kind of down the line a little bit, talk about the season as a whole, talk about the final 3. That is the main point of discussion tonight. Obviously, we want to hear your thoughts about the games that these 3 have played, kind of where all of your heads are at, what kind of questions you might have to ask, and then just kind of chumming it up for a little bit. We'll obviously do this some more tomorrow night with everybody that wants to come from the whole season. But yeah, so I want to start with Jeff, because Jeff always has a good word or two to say. Jeff, if you could summarize the season in your own words, where are your thoughts? How have you been? Tell me everything. Maybe not everything, but just, kick us off.
Oh, dear Lord. This feels like first boot, actually, to call on me first, just so you know. Well, I thought the season was going really great, and then it wasn't. And then here we are. I actually found out I was looking at the thing here. I found out that Alex is actually a Ravenclaw, and I'm a Gryffindor, and that makes total sense now.
For my little Harry Potter knowledge, I'm surprised that Alex is not a Slytherin. There I said it.
How dare you?
I literally texted Alex today, and I'm a Ravenclaw, and I told him I had no idea you were a Ravenclaw too. What I didn't tell him was that I was suspecting he was a Slytherin.
I have
hilarious.
never gotten Slytherin one time in any test. So.
Wow. No, I'm not saying wow, but
you're surprised.
You're saying wow.
well, it's like, Harry is Slytherin, but he got put into Gryffindor, right? So there's that. But it made sense. It made sense for me because Gryffindor really protects the team, is willing to sacrifice himself, is all guts and glory. So that makes sense for me.
Ooh, Emma is here.
But-
Let's get Emma here. Well,
Do you want me to-
on the next Harry Potter roundtable.
Well,
sorry,
did you?
go-
I can finish.
yeah, go ahead,
I
Jeff.
really felt like, for me, I know going into the season, it being All-Stars and knowing, how you do a game and how your seasons go, they're very laid back, not in a boring way, but they're subdued, they're relaxed, and, I'm used to that. But this season was not like that at all. It was like everybody went gung-ho from day zero, just going at it. And man, it was like exhausting after 2 days. So
Oh yeah.
it felt like every day was just, oh my God, is it the end? Is what it felt like. It felt like we were fighting for final three every single day.
When every one of you was evicted, who, despite their sadness, felt a majority sense of relief?
Just by raise of hands.
I sort of did.
I think I sensed that from a lot of you, that everyone played hard, and because you all played hard, that means that the fall has to be hard when you all go down crashing down. But let's get to the point of discussion tonight. We're gonna break down all three of our final three: Jake, Pietro, and Jason. I don't know which one we should start with. But let's start with Gray. Who do you want to start with?
Let's go in that order that you said. Let's start with Jake.
Let's start with Jake. Okay. I'm going to just kind of open the floor, and I want general thoughts on Jake's game. What has Jake done? What has Jake not done? What questions might you have for Jake? What do you need to hear from Jake? What would it take for Jake to get your vote? Just kind of open floor discussion on Jake, but I'm going to let Alex go first because I know that there's a lot there.
I was gonna wait for them to go.
Do you want to? You can.
I don't care. Yeah, someone else go.
Okay. Someone, thoughts on Jake's game?
I guess that's your answer.
I guess he always told me nobody ever talks to him. He was pestering me to make an alliance with anybody because he's like, nobody talks to me. We got to make an alliance to have the numbers. We got to do something. And so I guess one of my main questions for him would be like, why would you downplay your game that much if you're actually in a pretty good position?
Yeah.
But also considering he was your ride or die, Alex, like what did he do that's separate from yours?
Not listen to me on like a couple votes, I guess. Like he would say the same things to me when he evicted me. Yeah, I mean, he would constantly say the same things to me, Shelby. Like, nobody talks to me. And I would be like, then message people. This is all stuff.
Right.
Don't just sit back. Like, get off your ass. Can we swear?
Well, that's
Yeah,
why
yeah,
when
you're
he
fine.
was like, let's have alliances, I'm like, I don't want to sacrifice my relationships because everybody says they don't talk to you.
Right.
Exactly. And after the Bunker Busters blew up, I was constantly trying to get Matt and Jeff back with Pietro and Jake. And it was so tiring. And Jake would just not have a conversation. Like, he was not willing to engage. And I don't know, everyone can play this game however they want, but I feel like you've got to explore every option. Like, I feel like you owe that to the game to at least have conversations with people,
100%.
even if it doesn't go anywhere and you decide, okay, I don't like this. Like, talk to people.
And can I add something too? I was one of those people who has been trying to say hi to him. I try to connect with him on like McDonald's fries just to try to get him to talk to me. And it's like, it was a dead wall specifically with him because it's like, all right, cool. Then what else can I talk about at this point if you're not even going to talk strategy with me at all? So obviously that's why at the end of the day, when it was just final six with Alex and Jeff, I knew that they were bigger threats to win the game, but the other people weren't talking to me. So I was like, what on earth do I do at this point? So honestly, with Jake's game, I honestly don't know. I really don't.
See, he's one of the ones who talked to me. So we talked like almost every day, but he just always downplayed his game where it was like, oh my gosh, you voted with the majority. I'm going to vote with you next time, which he never did. But it's also like, you're saying you want to vote with the majority and stay safe the whole time. That can't be your only strategy.
Mhm.
Well, I know in Bunker Busters, whenever we would have, our Zoom calls, daily Zoom calls with everybody involved, he would try to have input, and it's like everybody would talk over him, and he would just go. And I started to feel bad for him, so I would say, "Oh, Jake's trying to say something, guys." And he did have an audio situation, like every time somebody would start to speak, it would cut him out so you couldn't hear him. But I would like try to say, Jake needs to say something, guys. So let's let Jake say what he has to say. But he would still come to me like I was the worst person in the world for not talking to him. And the first time he came to me, I was like, man, I'm really sorry. And I was really sorry. I'm like, I'm not trying to ignore you, but I thought I was giving everybody equal time. I mean, we're all talking in these Zoom calls forever in the bunker. And then you got to break a little bit and maybe talk to a few other people. But I mean, it was just like, we never got forward. It was always the same conversation every time. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
he would talk to me endlessly. Obviously, we would call each day probably for like an hour, and me and him would be talking, and he would be saying a lot to me, and I'd be like, right, when we get on the next call, say what you want to do, because I was very conscious of making sure that Jake felt heard,
Mhm.
because I know he's a very emotional person, an emotional player, and he wants to feel like his agenda's going, and it's not
Yeah.
just like the Alex show. And I would be like, right, if that's what you want to do, we're gonna get on the call. Say it, and we would get on the call, and then he would just sit there and not be proactive. Now maybe he was doing it with other people, but he wouldn't do it on those big
No,
calls.
because that's exactly what happened when he told me that Jeff was being mean to him and threatening him. And then I said something, and then Jake says nothing.
I know.
Yeah.
I was
But
like,
then
well,
he
let's
messaged
do
me
it.
separately, and he was like, "I really appreciate you standing up for me."
Sarah,
But
I saw you.
I wasn't even threatening the guy. It was like persuasive. It was like, listen, if you go this way, it's going to break things apart. And I don't know that we can work together. I mean, I think that's the natural course of what's
Yeah.
going to happen. And
For sure.
and he thought he took it to you as threatening. And I was like,
Yeah.
how's that threatening? It was just persuasive is all it was.
No, I had a few too many that night, as we all know. So
Mhm.
That
I
was one of my-
said, and I said, "Okay, here we go."
That was one of my favorite times of the whole game, by the way.
I feel like though it had to be somewhat on purpose because he like allowed himself to like seem like, oh, poor sweet Jake who no one wants to talk to him, and so it made him seem less threatening.
Absolutely.
And I like remember a conversation I had with Alex at one point, and he was like, "Don't be fooled by Jake's like woe is me gameplay. Like he does really well in these things." And
I
so
said this to a lot of you guys. I was like, don't sleep on him. But then I was fully expecting him at like 7 to start doing stuff. And it's still, I mean, I obviously don't know what's happened since I went home, but it's still just like, come on, like wake up. It's like a baby, like, come on, you know?
I agree because I mean, when we played together in season 7, he was winning every other comp and one of the main strategic people that I could talk to in that season. So like, I know what you're
there.
saying. He can be very good at this game.
So let's transition to that a little bit. Then I want to ask. So you guys have talked a lot from a social standpoint. That you've, I think, kind of covered Jake's social game. Where do you see his strategic game, the moves he made, the decisions he had to make, who he voted out, things like that?
Can I add something before
Please
they
go
start?
ahead, Sarah.
So one of the things I was going to say is that I read the situation totally wrong with like Jake, Pietro, and Rachel. Like I had no clue that y'all were with the other group. Like even though you voted with them, I just thought they were like convincing you to vote with them. I didn't have any idea that y'all were together while I was in the house. So to me, like Jake and Pietro have played the same game from my point of view, but I wasn't like privy to any of the information that was going on amongst your group. So like to me, I want to know like what y'all think the biggest differences were in Jake and Pietro's game, because I know a lot of you are rooting for Pietro. So I just want to know like, you know, throughout all this, kind of like what was the distinctive differences, because
Pietro hasn't been
I haven't seen them.
I'm
Yeah, I'm with-
personally
I'm with
rooting for
Sarah on that.
Jason. Personally, I'm not rooting for either Jake or Pietro. I'm rooting for Jason. I'm just putting it
Same.
out.
Same right now,
Jason,
but
yeah.
I haven't heard either of the others, you know, anything about them.
Well, then let's answer that question then. If tomorrow night we have Jake and Pietro, which I think is a very realistic possibility, what is what's the differences? Not that we're gonna get too much in Pietro yet, but like, what are the differences you guys see?
I think ultimately Pietro was willing to stand up for the things that he wanted to happen in the game. Well, at least within like the group conversations we were having, and was very clear to make known what he wanted and do what he wanted, even if that wasn't necessarily what everybody else wanted. Whereas I feel like Jake was more of like, okay, whatever you guys say, even if that's not really how he was, like that's how it came across.
I agree.
I
think,
agree.
well, because whenever Pietro won the HOH, like he came to the Bunker Busters and he said, "Hey, this is who I'm putting up. This is who I want gone. That's it." And I said,
Yeah.
"Okay."
Jake said that.
No,
Which HOH was
Pietro
that?
did.
Oh,
Pietro
Pietro said
definitely
that.
did.
Was that the double when he won with Jeff?
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
know.
well, that
Oh,
was,
that's right,
We all,
that's right.
We all had that plan
Was it-
ahead of time, and we told Pietro who to put up. We were like, no, you're going to put up Maddie because
Well-
Jeff's going to put up
Oh,
Sarah.
But
And
I wanted to put up Maddie first.
Yeah, Jeff wanted
Yes.
to put Maddie and Pietro.
And then when-
But Pietro said he would only put up one of two names, and we didn't want the other name to go up. So you had to put up Sarah in order for him to put up Maddie.
Right, which I didn't want to put up Sarah, but it was like, well, she seems to be with Maddie.
Maddie was
so-
the target. Sarah
Yeah.
was completely safe then, and so
Yeah.
we wanted it to fall on Pietro.
And I even told Sarah that I was like, everything I said to you was really at Maddie. It's just that you were in the way. I'm sorry.
I was an easy target the whole time.
So what are some
I wanted
what
to
are
say-
some other ways that like, because so it's really easy, like whenever there's a duo that's like in the game together, it's really easy to like see them as one player. So in this case, like Jake and Pietro, like it is very, very easy to see them as one player. What are some other ways that like, again, like the original question, like if this is the final two tomorrow, and there's a chance that it will be, if Jake wins the final HOH, there's a good chance he'll take Pietro. If Pietro wins the final HOH, there's a good chance he takes Jake. It may be that Jason's only chance is him winning. So if that is the final two, what are some other ways that you can distinguish the two of them? Like, what are things that you are looking for as a jury member for them to say in their final jury speeches that's going to give them your vote?
Jeff, before you do, I want to give Ryan a chance to say.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. You're good. Ryan, can you answer that question? Sorry to put you on the spot. I just want to give you a shot to speak.
Well, when it comes to Jake and Pietro here, I had a little bit of intermingling with both of these folks. All right. Now, Jake came to me very, very late, about 2 rounds before I was about to go out. And he said, you guys were saying a lot about how he doesn't know what's in the know-how, blah, 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 like that. But I think, sorry, I got to switch out of the accent because if I start talking fast, it just won't work. And y'all will stop.
So much from
Slow
everyone.
it down, man.
But anyways, I think Jake knows a lot more than y'all are saying. And Alex was saying that, he's actually good at this game late and he plays with his emotion or like plays on his emotions, which I agree with. And so I think Jake has a good standing in there as well, because he would come to me in the game and he'd still be asking. So I think Jake had a kind of a thing like Alex did, and he was actually talking to people, but telling people he wasn't talking to anybody. And he was just trying to figure out stuff bit by bit, but he couldn't figure out the right thing. Pietro, I will agree though. I think Pietro was more on his own and trying to figure stuff out more than like the Alliance has said, because every conversation I had with Pietro and I talked to him, it'd be stuff that like he is thinking on his own. And I mean, of course y'all could have had influence on it. I mean, I'm not going to deny that, but he seemed more solo than Jake did, while Jake was trying to make it seem friendly and saying that, oh, I'm with these people, so I know what's going on and everything like that. But I like Sarah said, I think they're still like really both similar play styles. And I mean, you could tell because they're working together. So, I mean, they're sharing information back and forth. And so, I mean, yeah, it's really tough for me to decide to who's going to be Jake or Pietro if they're both up there. I think my biggest thing is with them is, what is their biggest play and how does that beat the other? Like, what did you do that really set it off that was like, yeah, I'm above Pietro or I'm above Jake, is really what's going to come down for me tomorrow if they're both up there.
Go ahead, Jeff.
For me, it's a touchy situation in that you you can regret something and yet not regret something at the same time, and that would of course would be the situation with Alex and myself. Um, it I would definitely do that differently if I could, um, because I feel bad about it for Alex and for Matt, because I think that point is what changed things for us, and that's why we're here. Um, and I was like depressed because I couldn't talk to Alex after. I mean, we talked every single day and chatted, and it was real meaningful to me. And losing that just left me void. But even though Jake, so I just apologize to you guys for that, by the way. I just wanted to say that. But looking at it, Pietro did that. Pietro did that. He broke that up. He convinced me of a thing. And even if Alex was really lying to me, I probably still should have continued that. So I look at Pietro and I say, Pietro broke that up. Even though Jake put me up and I went out on his HOH, Pietro still did that. He still gets credit for doing that. And in my opinion, ultimately for Alex as well. And Matt, I mean, for that matter.
That's
so
really what I kept saying to them, Jeff. I just kept saying to Jason and Jake, I was like, this is not your move. And Jake was like, yes, it is. It's my HOH, or I'm sending you home. I've got to come out from under your shadow. And I was like, you're not looking at this from how we, the jury, are going to see this. Right. And you have to have that self-awareness to view the game move, not from your point of view, but from the jury's. And It was all those last three, it was all on Pietro, just by the way the status quo of the game had changed.
Yep.
And I don't think Jake had any self-awareness in the last couple of days to understand that. Maybe he's going to surprise us at the final two and say something. But as of now, I don't see that self-awareness for him.
Yeah. Go ahead, Rachel. I was going to say something, but go ahead.
Okay. So for the people that are always like right now that are like saying like I'm going towards more Jason, Alex and Jeff literally just said that Pietro had like a huge hand in basically all of these last nominations. So why would we vote for Jason when obviously Pietro has had like a huge say in a lot of this? Like he's made the social connections, he's won a lot of comps, and he sent a lot of us out.
Well, I think it's also a 22-day game, not a 3-day game.
I mean, I get that, but what has Jason done? I mean, I don't know. I didn't really talk to Jason.
What we've been saying about Jason is that you guys were in a big alliance that was winning the whole time. So, y'all were in a great position because you didn't have to, you did have to fight for your lives, but it was a lot easier because y'all were winning. Like, we couldn't win anything other than Mitchell's HOH. We couldn't win anything. So
for real,
Jason was fighting from the bottom the whole time. And so he does have that advantage in the sense that he's been able to stay alive while he's fighting from the bottom the whole time, as opposed to being, not to say anybody was like carried to the end, but they had a buffer of protection around them because your alliance was winning the whole time. So that's our thought as far as Jason being like an underdog kind of, coming in and fighting to the end.
But I would compare Jason and Jake almost as the same character in this game. They both played that sentimental, Jason was ready to go. I mean, he was in the pits that first day when he was on the block. I mean, he came to me and was like, it's over, and just really pitiful. And so did Jake. So I look at them as almost equals. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Matt?
I think for me,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Jenny.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll go after you.
I think for me too, with Jason, I think it's impressive that he managed the first HOH, be on the block the very next round, and then not somehow really be in danger the rest of the game because of the extra relationships he made. Like even when I was HOH, I never really even considered him putting him on the block because of the conversations that we had outside of like our group message and stuff. So I think like his game feels intentional. Like he wasn't just doing it to not do it. He was not doing things and trying to stay under the radar on purpose, and then he like hit the gas pedal when he needed to.
I agree 100%
Yeah.
because I played with Jason last time, and last time Jason was
Yeah.
came on very, very strong, and he was
Yeah.
telling different stories to everybody the whole time. And at the time, we were allowed to screenshot stuff, so we all start talking, screenshotting what he's telling each of us, sending it to each other, and he blew his game up. So this time, to see him playing totally opposite, I guess I can appreciate the intentionality in it a little more because I saw how he played last time.
Yeah,
Matt,
and-
jump in.
Yeah, and I'm pretty much, I'm honestly at this time basing my vote between Pietro and Jason at this point because Jason just has that underdog story. He's won the challenges that he's needed to win in order to stay off the block. He's used Vita Hut twice now, or about 2 to 3 times to get him off the block. Versus Pietro, he did break up Alex and myself and Jeff, which was a really big move. And honestly, for most of the time I was considering voting out Alex and Jeff because Pietro literally was like, oh no, they're going to beat you. I mean, they probably would have beaten me in the end for sure. But he was literally being that snake saying, Jeff saying this about you. Oh, Alex is talking to everybody too. You're not protected by them. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? So at least on that end, Pietro honestly caused that mess between Alex, Jeff, and myself. So, I mean, I have to respect that also. I think it is based off of now who am I going to vote for? It's just how they're going to explain their game specifically. Because honestly, I was mostly in the game where I couldn't see it from y'all's standpoint. And so I need to figure out what did they do specifically to win the game? Because right now I am leaning towards Jason, to be quite honest.
And I
Because
mean,
of his
just between our conversations, Jason was being strategic. I mean, we were talking about who do we want to align with. Alex, the only reason I honestly agreed to a ceasefire with you was because of Jason. Because
Yeah,
I can't lie.
Jason,
So I was
Jason and I had really
why would I want to work with you if I'm going to be coming after you? And Jason was like, no, we need Alex even temporarily. So, and just other conversations between the two of us working together. I mean, he had that foresight to think, not just this round, but the next few rounds, how would they play out and who should we start talking to lay some of those
I think that's a really good point, Shelby, that Jason was very much playing within that round, but also that round for the next maybe 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like Pietro played very much that round only, which I appreciate. Sometimes that's how I was doing. I was just like, I just want to survive till tomorrow. I don't care. I'll just do whatever I can. But I think as well, the conversation between Jason and Pietro sort of seems to be playing the hardest game versus playing the right game, because it's at the end of the day, it's who plays the right game for this game. It's always different. And maybe what Jason did was the right game, even if it wasn't the hardest game, playing hardest.
That's a really good point, Alex, that you bring up, because I think that obviously the jury decides who wins this game, and the jury may think differently every game depending on who's on it. Does the jury want to vote someone who they feel played a underdog game and was scrappy and had to fight to stay in? Or does the jury want to reward someone who made the right connections and was with the majority? What does the jury want to reward? And so that kind of brings up and segues into a question from this season. If you guys weren't aware of this, actually, I don't know if we ever told y'all, we created a live feed chat. And so there were people who were in the viewing party who were following along with the game as you guys were all playing, and we would give them details before we gave y'all details. When someone won HOH, we would tell them first, and then we would tell y'all. And so they have been following along very closely, and a lot of them are watching right now. And so some of them may be posing some questions for y'all. And so the first one comes from Carl Landon Clark.
Wait, Jenny, what is your raised hand?
Can they vote for who their favorite jury member is?
Yeah, they'll do America's favorite.
Yeah, they'll do viewing party favorite.
But not counting people who are not on the jury, just us, people who are here right now.
I mean, they've seen more of y'all, so I have a feeling that y'all have an upper hand.
You guys have a good shot.
Give it to Emma. Give it to Emma.
But so this question comes from Carl Landon Clark, who is a BBH 9 icon of sorts, Rachel.
Rachel.
So Carl, his question
Never
is,
goes away.
okay, well, first off, Carl asked, he said, this is not a rhetorical question. Why is Rachel such an icon? But now he says, real question time. Yes, Jason being the underdog and fighting from the bottom. I understand that storyline. But what did Jason do to ensure he wasn't the target of the alliance that kept winning? What agency did he have in that? So anyone can answer that question if you'd like to.
He never talked to me. So that's the only reason, like, I mean, like, we talked a little bit. I'm not trying to pull a Jake right now, but we just didn't talk a lot. And so, like, for me, like, it's not like he wasn't on my radar because I thought he was just like, sorry, Emma. I thought he was just like pulling like kind of like an Emma thing. And like, we just weren't ever going to talk. So, I mean, it's not like he wasn't on my radar, but I was like, man, I'll just worry about him later. And I was going after Mitchell and Jenny and Alex and Jeff.
And he felt like fodder for big players, I thought.
Well,
Because
I
he
mean,
wasn't doing anything big.
I didn't know how any of you guys have ever played before. So it's like y'all have like come in here with like backstories of like how like Sarah, like, you know how Jason used to play or whatnot. I don't know how any of y'all used to play. So I was just like, I don't
Same,
know.
Rachel, same.
And it's like I told Sarah, I said, we can only base people on this game. We can't base anybody on their gameplay in past seasons. So I have to say Jason was a floater. I mean, if I can only base it on this season.
He he didn't do anything for me because he didn't build a connection with me. We had that one thing with Shelby, which that was a joke.
the beach bombs.
The beach bombs, yeah. I don't know what that was.
Shelby, I saw you wanted to say something. Shelby, floor is yours.
Oh, I was gonna say, I mean, we had that beach bomb, so that had Jake and Pietro, so they needed us if they ever wanted to turn on y'all. I know we had the alliance with Alex. I don't know his relationship with Jeff or Matt, but then before that we had the yes-no where we had, I mean, Sarah and Jenny in an alliance. So, I mean, I don't know his individual social game, but I mean, we were in conversations with a lot of the other side, I guess, where even if we weren't their closest allies, we were talking to them where he probably isn't one of their straight up targets when they would rather go after, somebody fully against them or a bigger player.
We would talk. I mean, we would be friendly with one another and talk about meth gator and whatnot. He actually brought that up to me one day. He's like, I have to ask you something. You need to be completely honest with me. And I was like, oh crap, this is the point. This is that point in the game. And he was like, are you meth gator? So, but anyway, that's where that came from. So we had a friendly thing, but he never voted like I did. He always went with the majority. He never took advice if I had any to sprinkle at all. None. So it was like, I guess we were just, hey, how's it going, man? For me.
Honestly, I would build a friendship with Jason, so hopefully that whenever you guys all decided to turn on me, that maybe that relationship would help. And clearly it didn't, but maybe if it wasn't Bradley, it would have.
Where's Bradley?
Hate to put someone on the spot real quick. I don't know where Bradley is. He couldn't come tonight.
He's got to work.
But hate to put someone on the spot, but there's someone we haven't really heard from tonight. Emma, do you have any thoughts about Jason?
Or Jake. Or Pietro.
Or Jeff Delaney?
Yeah, first of all, how dare you? So, I talked a lot more to Jason than I did with Jake, and I never really trusted Jake from the beginning. And I didn't really want to trust Jason, but we kept talking more. So then I was like, this is convenient for me. I'm gonna continue with this. Yeah.
That's great.
Well,
I accept. Any other thoughts on Jason? We kind of transitioned towards Jason a little bit, and we can kind of continue let the conversation go where it goes.
I would say just, going from that, Jason's probably his biggest allies, his biggest ally right at the beginning was Mitchell. We talked about who else he was working with, and I can't remember, but he was able to kind of keep transitioning throughout the game. Like, so he still had allies. So like Mitchell got voted out. He wasn't done for at that point in time. Like, he was able to transition to another ally. Him and I were allies. I got voted out. You know, not to say we were the strongest allies, but he had Shelby. He had different ones where he was able to. He was never like by himself in the game. So even though his allies were getting voted out, he was able to transition to make new allies to keep him protected as he
But
went.
did he actually really make allies? I mean, we were in that Beach Bums group, but I was never gonna have his back. Like, I would never have turned on I would never have turned on Pietro or Jake.
Well,
Sorry,
but he had allies. You can't. I mean, if you have an ally, you can't say they're.
Yeah, because is that a Jason problem or a Rachel problem?
Right, kind of. But he's still there, so obviously he had enough, allies to kind of keep him along the way. He didn't just like whenever, Mitchell got voted out. He was my biggest ally or whatever. So then I had Jason and Shelby still, but had they gone, and Ryan. I'm sorry, Ryan.
It's okay.
Had they gone, then I would have had to try to find someone else to work with, cling to, kind of thing or whatever. And he was able to do that throughout the whole game to where he's still there.
Ryan, tell us about your relationship and your thoughts on Jason.
I was gonna say my thoughts on Jason. My relationship was good too. Like, honestly, the season sixers, I feel like y'all are right in that. We were kind of working together. We didn't actually make a alliance group or anything like that.
Ever.
But
There was no season 6 chat.
But what was it called with all the season 6 people?
There was one that was season 6 plus Jenny
Yeah.
in our bunker.
No, but
that was
in our
just the bunker. That wasn't
was in the
everybody.
bunker.
Yeah.
So it
What was it
didn't
called?
include
And
the
then I
use.
tried to sabotage you guys. Sorry.
But literally, I just talked to Mitchell one-on-one. I talked to Sarah one-on-one. I talked to Jason one-on-one. And then, Maddie got voted off immediately. So I never really got to talk to Maddie. But we all talked to each other one-on-one. But anyways, my thoughts on Jason is that this is the all-star season. And so I was going to say, I think we've been talking a lot about strategy. And I think that's what's going to be big for me too, is that who had the best strategy? It's Jake and Pietro are making hella noise right now. They're making so much noise right now in this final kind of seconds here. And it's it's the obvious moves too, get Jeff out, get Alex out. Clearly that's what you're going to do. You're not just going to leave him in there. But Jason clearly strategically played it out, whereas he kept people on, Sarah was just saying, to get him to this point. And he just needed people as he needed them. And I think I would vote for Jason in the end, just because he played the strategy a lot better. He played it great as an all-star because we're all big names, everyone's a big name in here for the most part, and everyone's after each other. But somehow he made it to where he could influence or, get himself out of a situation and win a competition when needed, and then still make it to the end. And then he's just already won the HOH for this final one. And so we're going to see how it goes. And so I think Jason is big. Yeah.
On a character trait, he reminded me of the Donnie character in Big Lebowski. Every time he tried to offer anything in, people were like, "Damn it, Donnie! Shh, you're out of your element." And it was he would distract. He would come up with the most random, distracting things. Mm-hmm. And there was one day when Jenny goes, "This is not the day. It's not time for that, Jason." It was so funny. I did get, and that might be part of his strategy too. Was he trying to distract people? Was he trying? Yeah. So I'll give him props there.
That's just kind of Jason too, that he is a little bit random.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, but it was always not now, man, not now.
We do have another viewer question about Jason. If y'all want to talk a little bit about this and break this part down a little bit more, and then we'll move on to Pietro's game a little bit. Talk about that. Pietro. But so another question from the live feed chat. Everyone keeps discussing Jason and how he laid some foundations to make moves later on. But if your side doesn't win challenges, do those foundation blocks matter? It sounds like they keep harping on the work Jason did, even if it resulted in nothing. So thoughts about that?
I think the foundation did matter, at least some, because was the first time he was on the block when Jeff put him up, and that was pretty late in the game.
I'll fact check you a little bit.
He went
was on
up
the
with
he-
Quinn and
Jason was on the block
Quinn.
first when we entered the
Yeah.
house.
Okay.
Day 4.
But
That's-
outside of that,
Remember. Okay. But I mean, having those relationships and those foundations helped him avoid the block,
Mm-hmm.
I would say.
I think he did like the Alex move kind of quieter. And like, Alex, I know you had big influence in the house. And so he used like loud people to make his moves for him. And it's like, it's kind of like a subtle thing, like in your subconscious, like he's like telling you something and you're hearing about it. And, and he's making the loud people make noise so he can stay under the covers and no one's going to notice that he's actually not, I wouldn't say he was controlling the house ever at any point in time, but he still had influence in that and that people wouldn't bring it back to him at all.
Kind of, I think. I don't know. I don't feel like I ever actually listened to Jason once. Like I feel like everything he told me to do, I did not do that.
No, I didn't.
That's
I
not
didn't
what
say
I
you
wanted
did.
to do. No, I know.
saying, yeah.
But I feel like with my relationship with Jason is I felt like he was the only one in the house who was like completely straight up with me. Like he would be like, Alex, I'm not voting with you this round. You do what you want and I'll do my thing. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll check in with you tomorrow. We don't need to like BS each other the rest of the day. And like I always appreciated that because like I know that I was very messy.
oh, were you?
But like I don't know, I appreciated that he would always just be like, okay, Alex, this round let's do something together, and then next time I'd be like, peace out, and I'll see you in 4 days or something. And I always feel like he had an open mind, even like I feel like he always heard me out at least, which was nice, whereas some of y'all did not.
Any last thoughts on Jason before we?
I would just say one more thing is like, how he was his, I guess like alliances and stuff that he had. A lot of times it was people that were big threats, big players or whatever. So he was able to use them as shields. Like, he had Mitchell, which Mitchell's very, seen as a big threat. He had me. I was seen as a big threat. He ended up working with Alex. People that their attention was going to be on them and not on him. And, that was smart because, it just kept the attention off of him. And I think it was intentional. I don't think in any way it was like, oh, it was an accident of who he, was working with or whatever.
Yeah.
It worked. I mean, he's still there.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm fighting the bitter part of. Oh, I'm sorry, Ryan. Were you gonna go?
No, I was agreeing with Sarah because she was agreeing with what I said earlier. So.
Oh, okay.
You're agreeing with yourself.
So I know the bitter part of me is when I put Jason and Rachel on the block. Didn't I put Rachel and Jason on the block?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Shelby,
I'll never forget it.
You'll never forget it. Sorry, Rachel. And you won Shelby, you won veto, right?
Yeah, and took Jason.
So I never wanted Jason to go. And I told him, I said, win the veto. And I even told, I went straight to Shelby when she won. I said, take Jason down. So he was, I see your head bobbing.
Bye,
so
Emma.
I fought. So I really fought for Jason to stay that round. So when I was on the block and I went to him and I said, I think you owe me a favor, man. I really fought for you to stay and you were never in danger. Because that's what he said to me. He goes, I'm not going to vote. I'm going to evict you because you put me on the block, man. I was like, dude, let's think about this for a second. You weren't in danger. And anyway.
He was in no danger that round.
Exactly.
Zero.
He would be dumb to think he was in danger next to me after what I did.
Shelby and I had a conversation, and Shelby was like, Alex, who are you evicting? And I was like, I'm evicting Rachel. Like, that's what Jeff wants. That's what we're doing. Like, you don't even need to use the veto because Rachel's going.
Well, and you weren't going.
You want to save Jason naturally, but it was just like, sorry, Rachel.
Well, I knew I could count 3 votes for keeping him. It was at like 4th that I was a little like.
Yeah. Oh no, you absolutely should have taken him down. He's your ally.
Yeah.
More so, like he was totally safe.
Was he though?
I think
he was.
I mean, if
who was going to evict him?
His little steal a vote, and I
there
got
we go.
by steal a vote again. I would have been so mad.
Cancel eviction, right? Halting hex.
Halting hex.
The steal a vote could have definitely flipped some things around there, but it did not. So,
But Pietro tried it with me. He did try that with me, that halting hex stuff, and I was like, "You're going on the block, man. You brought that to me. You're going straight on the block. I'm going to see if you really have that."
No,
So-
Jeff, that's what made me go crazy in the main house chat because I was like, something's happening because you were spreading that shit to me. And so I was like, something's happening. I'm freaking out. Rachel's somehow going to get off the block and then I'm going to get screwed. That's why, I mean, and I was also going through some bullshit too. So I was like, not only dealing with outside bullshit, I was dealing with this bullshit. And so
I know.
I was.
Because
Yeah.
I believe that they had it. I still believed it. And I put
Yeah.
him on the block because I wanted them to use it. And I talked to Alex. Alex
Yeah.
sent me a GIF and it was the flushing the toilet because we were flushing a power.
Yeah.
And it was like, all we'll do is travel back in time a day and they'll be free and we'll do this over. And, but he still tried it. Got to give him credit.
all right, let's get into Pietro unless anyone has final Jason thoughts.
I'm gonna leave for 1 second. I'll be right back.
Okay. Let's just talk about everyone. This is kind of where it started with Jake and Jason, I guess. Just your relationship with Pietro. What has been your game relationship with Pietro? And you can relate that to strategy or whatever you want.
Well, Pietro called me one night and said, "Hey, Jenny, these are all the things that I did with Mitchell, so don't hold them against me. Also, how about a final 2?"
Do not get me started on Pietro and his damn final 2s.
He didn't make a final 2 with me at all. He didn't even
You
really
didn't make
talk
one
to
with
me.
me.
Yeah.
You made
No
one
one
with me?
really made. I think
Me
the
and you,
only
Matt.
final
I made
2.
one with you.
Yeah, exactly. Me and you were the only final. My only final 2 was with Ryan, and anyone. I didn't make any official deals with anyone else.
I know
and
about
so-
all the final 2s that Pietro made. So obviously me and Pietro were on the block last time. The only one I didn't know about was the one about with Jenny. That's the only one that he didn't tell me. I mean, obviously, like we knew that we were talking to other people, but we both came in from the last season together. So we talked immediately, and obviously we stuck together throughout the entire thing. I mean, he tried to do a freaking halting hex for me. Poor guy. But I don't know. I mean, I trusted him. He was my number 1. So
I mean, I trusted him. He was, depending on the day, my 2 or 3. Like,
yeah.
He was the person that when Jeff said, "What about me, you, Rachel, Alex, and go to the final 4?" and I was like, "Nah, I don't think I trust Rachel. How about Pietro?"
He did. Because that was the final 4 I wanted.
Rachel.
Well, I had a final 2 with Rachel.
Look, so I got Jenny out. Jeff, you never specifically look. You made me drop my hoops. You never specifically said final 2. That never came out of your mouth.
Now, see,
when-
that's a
when
very
I-
important
You
distinction
told
that you're making
me
there,
that-
Rachel.
Say what?
Because that's a very important distinction that you're making there, because I think that there is something to say about, like, do you perceive that you have a final 2 with someone because you're working closely with them? Do they have that same final 2 with you? Just because you're working together and have each other's backs, does that mean final 2? Or do you have to say we have a final 2 for it to mean a final 2? Like,
Yeah,
I
you
think
gotta
we need to
say it.
define
Alex
what a
Day
final
is
2
Alex Day is the king
You
of this.
actually both have to say it, and just because you say, "Hey, you're my ride or die," or "You're my number 1," like that doesn't mean you have a final 2.
I agree. Yeah.
I
Jeff.
agree. I
At
agree.
Jeff.
Yeah.
Although
But I
Jeff
assume-
did
but
make a final 2 with me, like on day 1.
She was the only person that actually said final 2 to. But I kept it open between Jenny, Rachel, and Alex. That was the 3. And I had just assumed it with Alex. But we even said in a conversation one day, Alex said, "Have we ever said final 2?" And I said, "No, we haven't." But it was assumed on my part that we were. And the same with Rachel, because I did put myself in. That sounded weird. I put all of my. I'll shut up. No, my efforts into Rachel. I mean, okay, so when I flubbed the House of Cards thing, I'll touch on this again. I flubbed the House of Cards thing, and I got a minute 50, and I was like, I studied it more, and I thought, oh God, I did it in 30 seconds. So I called Rachel, and she was already in bed, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm in bed. What's up? What's going on?"
It was like 10:30, and Jeff wanted me to get out of bed to put up some
You're
cards.
in a game, sister.
I wish that we had that, like, I wish we had that on like actual live feeds to like show the whole view.
I know.
That
If
Have
we
a
were in the
video
Big
of her
Brother
doing
house,
it?
he would have been like whispering in my ear, "Rachel, wake up. You gotta come."
I'd have been under the covers going, "Rachel, you need to, all you need is 21. Look, Rachel, wake up. 21 cards is all you need. 21 cards, 30 seconds, 21 cards. I did it. Watch. Just watch me here under the covers. Watch. But I did
And
the video.
I tried to explain it to Pietro, and the only thing I could get out of my mouth was 3-2, 3-2, 3-2.
I know he told me, but
Then I
it was
gotta
like
go to bed.
I was like, Rachel, you got to win this, and this is how you do it. 21 cards, 30 seconds. I did it for her, and she's like, okay, I'll work on it. I want to get to work tomorrow. Can you send me the video? And I did. You know what she did? Pietro, get out of bed. Get out of bed. Wake up, Pietro. I got to tell you something. I figured out how to do it in 30 seconds. It's mine. I know how to do this.
I did. I did it. I think I did it. No, I think I did it in the 4-person group though with Alex too, didn't I?
What's
I
this?
think I like about the whole card situation.
I
with
sent
Jeff.
a video of how I was trying to do it to Pietro, and then I spoke with Jeff, and Jeff and I practiced on call because I couldn't compete. Or yeah,
Jeff,
I couldn't-
Hurricane, yeah.
You didn't
Okay.
send me this video.
sorry, Jenny. And then I was talking to Jeff, and we were like, tell Rachel, like, go help her. And then
Because
that's
I came back to him after the fact when I figured out how to do it in 30 seconds, and he was like, oh. Which when Pietro brought all the stuff to me that you were lying to me supposedly, I even thought back that far. I'm like,
Wait, who I was?
no,
No,
Alex.
Oh,
I even went that far back in my head thinking, did he sabotage me? Because he told me, he goes, you're in the zone. Jeff, you're in the zone. You need to do it right now. The zone. You need to go ahead and go do it right now.
Were
And-
you sabotaging him?
me?
Yeah.
No, I really think I was like, Jeff, like, you're doing great. Like, go do it now. Like, I don't see how you can do it any faster than that.
It was a minute and 30. No, I did it. Yeah, a minute and 40 seconds.
I was just sat here watching Jeff do it over and over and over again, and he was just like speeding through. I was like, just get it done. Like, don't overthink it. Just do it.
But
And
then I
there's-
went.
Practice a lot at work. I will say that. That's
As
then
much
I
as I
went-
want to have a 30-minute conversation about a house of cards, fine, Jeff. Your last thing.
No, I was just gonna say I thought back that far when Pietro brought the stuff to me. I thought, did he know that you could do it faster? And he just told me to go do it then, and I trusted him so much that I went and did it, and I had a horrible time in the end because it was a minute 50. And then when I did it in 30, he was like, oh. And I thought, man, he had to be acting.
So let's talk more about our relationship with Pietro. What else we got? Matt,
I mean,
you shook your head. Or Alex, go ahead.
I'd like to see Pietro very much own the fact that he was not this like sweet little guy just staying loyal to Rachel the whole way. He very much like flipped a switch at Final 7, 8, but during that half the eviction, because Shelby, you were gone. So it was just a matter of who the other person was going to be. And I mean, those last few days that I was in the house, he was very different to me and very argumentative. And I could not even talk to him anymore. It was very vitriolic, and I'd like to know why, if there was something going on or what. I don't know.
think, I mean, like from talking with Pietro or whatnot, like obviously I can't talk for him, but from what we discussed, like when I left, I said, you have to get out Jeff and Alex. Like Alex, like I just did. I mean, everyone knew that you were a good player. It's kind of like that thing that we've all discussed. Like we all knew that you were a good player. It's just like no one was doing anything about it. Like we were just going after everyone else.
Yeah.
At that point, like we had you out on our side, so we were like, why are we gonna get you out right now? So
And Pietro first mentioned something about getting Alex out at like 15, probably.
yeah, he said it. He brought it up first about Alex. So it's not like, I mean, he just never. I mean, he never trusted you. So I think like at that point, I don't think it was personal. I think it was just like, well, shit, you gotta go. But I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
He had to know he would lose if you were in the end. I mean, that was just
1,000%.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the
I mean,
host-
Alex,
host
you were the puppet master.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Everybody knows.
When the
Like everyone
survey
here knows it.
when the survey came back and everybody said Jenny was running the house, I was like, no,
There were only
Alex
two.
is running the house.
There were only two answers for that question. It was Jenny and Alex, so it was very
Yeah,
close.
those were the only two that, like, even from like our perspective, I think as hosts, like we were like, these are the two people who like it's going to be a war between them. Like,
Well, but it wasn't. They were together.
yeah,
on my end, Jenny.
I'd say on Jenny's end too.
I know, I'm just teasing.
Yes, that's the person that voted her out.
She asked me to. She told me.
Listen, I said don't leave it to Rachel to make the tying decision because I don't
Yeah.
want to give her that satisfaction. Please,
I didn't
just
want it
vote
either.
What else we got on Pietro? Pietro strategy, moves he made, competition prowess, things, dog barking.
I mean, obviously good in comps. Like
Yeah.
he's won what 5?
He's won a handful. I couldn't tell you how many. off the top of my
Somewhere
head.
in there.
Yeah, in the Jeopardy one, he kicked all our asses.
Oh,
Yeah, he did.
He beat
And
Alex
I-
by one question.
Crazy.
Yeah, and all of us studied, and I thought I did good, but clearly I didn't. So, but yeah. But yeah, no, he had 34. How was it? What was the score? 34 fucking thousand?
32,400, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
because
I mean,
he hit him and Alex both hit the final or the daily double on the last question, but Pietro had already gotten one more question correct. That's how Alex
That's
lost.
it.
So even if Alex had gone all in, which he did not, he still would have lost.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was close. Pietro and Alex were, I mean, the last couple of comps down the stretch, super close. What are
Can you
gonna do?
tell us the comp wins for each of them? Like how many each of them had?
I'm looking right now.
I can. Let's see here. This would be easy. Pietro has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins. So wait, 6. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I think he has 6. Yeah, Pietro has 6. Who else do you want to know?
All of them.
All of them. Okay,
3.
Jason.
Yeah.
Jason has 1.
3, right? Oh no, because Shelby won and took him off, so he's got the veto and then he's got the HOH.
He's got 3, right?
He won the HOH at the beginning.
Oh yeah. He's got 3.
He has 3 if you're including today's part 1, which we kind
that's
of lump
4.
all. Oh,
Because he won HOH at 4. He won the election, and he won the veto when he took himself off the block.
Yep. So there's 4 for him, and then Jake. Let's see. Alex, you probably know better off the top of your head. Even I have the chart in front of me.
Jake has the wall sit veto, and then he's got
1.
He's got 2
He has
HOH
2 HOHs.
and nothing since, I don't think.
1, 2. Yeah, I believe that is
3. So
Yeah,
it's
so
6,
3
4, 3.
wins. So 6, 4, and 3. And Jason's 4th win is just part 1, which is a win, but we kind of lump the final HOH
Like whoever wins part 3 gets like the credit
for 1 HOH win. But yeah, so comp wins. Pietro has a little bit of an edge there. But yeah, that's close. Any other thoughts on Pietro? And then we can kind of wrap this up.
No.
In general, what are we looking for tomorrow from any one of them? What kind of questions do we want to ask? For the record, tomorrow you got when you guys get on, a lot of you have done this before, or at least have seen it done. When you come on, you'll come on to StreamYard. We won't have everyone on. Most of you can watch from the view or from my Facebook page. And then when you come on, we'll bring you on and maybe have someone on deck. But anyway, you have all the time you want. It's the floor is yours. You can ask whatever, how much you want. We're not on live television where there's no restriction in time. Don't go forever, but you'll be good. So anyway, what kind of things do we want? What questions are we going to ask? I know it kind of depends on what the final 2 is, but what are we looking for?
I really think, like you said, it depends on the final 2. I think really I'll only have the most questions if it's Jake and Pietro. I think if Jason's in there, it's kind of a subtle, like, to the other person, like, hey, what did you do? Like, that would instantly put you above, Jason. And I think for Jake and Pietro, it's the same thing. It's like, what really is it that puts you above the others? Because, I mean, Pietro could say comp wins, but it's like, okay, but, like, what did you do at the end or around? Like, that was a big strategy move. Same thing with Jake. It's like, yeah, you had those HOH wins and you got off some big players, but it's like, are you doing that or somebody else doing that? So, yeah, I think if it's Jake and Pietro, I'll have questions, like more questions about how they're better than the other. But if Jason's in there, I think I won't have as much questions for either. Probably just for whoever's against Jason, I'll have more questions.
Should we decide beforehand what questions each of we're going to ask so we don't repeat things or?
Nah, you can.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard because we don't know who it's going to be right now.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
What the questions would
And
be.
we won't know who the final 2 are until the finale, because part 3 happens live.
Maybe everyone just come up with like 3 questions that you want to ask, and like
Based on
someone
different
else.
scenarios.
Yeah, and then if someone else asks a question before you, then yeah. A question that I've always loved that I've used as my go-to jury question, but I've only been on a jury once, so I've only got to ask it once, but I would love if someone used it, was I always ask someone like, so let's say it's Jake and Jason in the end. I always ask like, Jake, what was the best part of Jason's game? And then I ask
Yeah,
Jason,
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
what's the best part of Jake's game? Because it's easy to stand up there and talk about your game and say that your game is really great and like bash someone else's game. But I think it shows a lot of character, like whenever someone can like recognize that someone else played a good game too. So if someone wants to ask that question, I love when that's questions asked as a viewer. So
Yeah, great. I was actually gonna ask that question, so you got it out of my
Beautiful.
mouth. So yeah.
Anything else? Any other things that you guys want to hear from our final two?
I want to.
Oh, I was gonna say for Jake and Pietro, and y'all have touched on it tonight. For like their first, 60% of the game, my question more is, how did they like influence their alliances? Were they just yes people, or were they actually like actively working with y'all to make decisions? And y'all have talked about some of that tonight, but also to hear how they would explain it would be a question I have.
it's a good question.
Jenny, I know you have told me what your question may or may not be. I want you to say it.
Oh, I don't remember what I said to you.
I mean, I can help you out. Basically, like,
Oh, no. I know it. Basically, I think my question to really any of them would be, especially though if it's Jake and Pietro, would be what part of your game was actually your game versus someone else using you in a position of power to make the moves they wanted to make.
Question.
That is a good
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
I want to hear. I'm going to be honest. I don't know that I'm going to vote for Jason no matter what.
Yeah.
That's not to be mean, but I just don't feel like I saw enough to do that. So if it is Jake and
That's
Pietro,
so, Jeff, this is why you're the meanest in the house.
I know. I'm the Grinchiest. But for them, I want them to own their biggest lie.
Yeah.
I want them to own their biggest lie.
Yeah.
So.
And I always do this whenever I'm on jury and sequester. I ask a real question first, and then I have a second part where I make them have a pose off because I want them to have fun. And so that's going to happen for my part as well. So they're going to have to pose for their life and try to get my vote also that way as well. So that's how I'm going to, because I want to have fun because everyone's going to be so fucking
swear,
serious.
I thought you just said, I'm going to ask them a real question, then I'm going to make them take their clothes off.
Oh, I mean, maybe no, but yeah. So that's how I'm gonna go in at it as well because I just want to give my signature also. So yeah.
I love that, Matt.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Can we play again real fast?
Please
No.
no.
All right.
Never forget.
Head Vassal. Speed round.
Y'all want to bounce around to some rooms and like vote someone out real
Ooh,
quick?
Yeah.
just vote people out of the Zoom call one by one. Who's first?
You
I
can't
vote
vote
Josh.
for yourself.
I'm sure me.
No,
Hey,
you know
right
what?
there.
You guys are in a good place. We don't need to add anything else to this.
Please
We've
don't.
been voting each other out plenty over the last several weeks. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So tomorrow the finale will be at 9. We may even, I don't know yet, depending on tomorrow's schedule, we may have part 2 and part 3 in the finale potentially, maybe for fun. But if not, we'll have part 2 sometime throughout the day tomorrow. And finale's at 9. We'll get you guys in if whenever you want. And then so watch on Facebook, watch on my Facebook page, and I'll bring you in one by one when it's your turn. And then when we're done, we will make a big giant Zoom call for anyone and anyone that wants to come in, and we'll hang out, debrief, have some fun, and laugh about all the silliness. So
And like during the finale, like Josh said, like you'll be able to watch like through his Facebook page, and then we'll be coordinating, like probably Max and myself will be coordinating, like sending you a StreamYard link, and like so that someone can be like in asking a question, and so that someone can be, we can't all fit in StreamYard, but so that someone can be in asking a question and someone can be on deck. And then when that person on deck starts asking a question, we'll get someone else in so that we can cycle through that way, collect vote, all that stuff.
And I always say this every season, just so you guys hear this. We are streaming both to the viewing party and to my personal Facebook page. I work at a Southern Baptist church, so please watch your language.
Oh, got it.
That's pretty much it. I'm not worried about having to explain this nonsense to anyone, but if someone comes in and says, obscene things, just makes my life potentially more difficult. We don't want that.
I'm going to.
What?
I said I'm going to.
Well, Jenny, if you're the reason I lose my job, at least like it's you, and like I don't know. I feel like we could take credit for that ourselves as opposed to me like blaming Matt. You know.
Hey, rip Matt.
Sorry, I can't help but cuss because
you
once I'm
can't
done
say that.
teaching, I know it's horrible.
Yeah.
I have a
It's
horrible
hard to
mouth
hold it in
after
all
teaching.
day.
Exactly.
okay.
So when you don't get to hold it in, it just comes out like motherfucking shit, blah, 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 blah.
And then there's times during the day where you're like, did I say accidentally cuss in front of a kid?
Yeah, I've done that
but
a few times, and I covered.
y'all are like literally all BBH icons. There's a
Icons.
reason that you're here. There's a reason that
And
you-
trust me, we wish almost any of you were in the final three.
literally any combination of three of you would be preferred. But but as it is, you're all BBH icons. I'm gonna go now. And you all like, I mean, this season has been so fun to watch from this side of things. I like always tell Josh that I have to take like a year-long break between like playing, but like I wish I could have played with y'all because like just watching y'all, I was like, y'all are having so much fun yelling at each other and like making alliances and all this stuff. And I was like, I just want to be there also. And so like, thank you for giving everyone like quality content and being amazing players. I don't know how the viewing party is going to be able to vote on a viewing party favorite this season because like I see like 8 right in front of me that like I'm like I don't know who I'm going to vote for. And so yeah, y'all are all great. And
Who's retired from Big Brother Hometowns?
Winners of War coming summer 20.
Winners of War summer 2020.
I can't take the stress.
Sarah and Jenny are not allowed to be retired for Winners of War. Sorry.
Random couples. That's a good
Y'all,
season.
I wanted to be Sandra so bad and win twice.
I just want to be Amber and Rob.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm assuming you guys know that Shelby's husband Connor won way back when, and so she wants. There were times we thought you had the path to the end, and then
We really did. Shelby, if you had won
I felt like
2
I had.
seconds. 2 seconds.
2 seconds.
That was
All right,
one thing.
I'm gonna turn off the stream. You guys can stay on, but I'm gonna turn off the stream. Thank you everyone for
Bye,
watching
stream.
on Facebook.